Connections as we talk with an organizer of Phoenix Rising Lexington, Jim Embry. He talks with us about ways the collaborative is preserving the contributions of African American jockeys. Phoenix Rising Lexington has been in existence for about 5 years, and it was inspired by the signature biography about three-time Derby-winning jockey Isaac Murphy. He's called the Prince of Jockeys. Murphy was an important figure not just in sports, but in social, political, and cultural consciousness of African Americans. I'm joined by Jim Embry, the director at large of the board of directors for Phoenix Rising Lexington, an organization that seeks to preserve, promote, and honor the contributions of Black horsemen who formed the backbone of the horse industry in Kentucky and beyond. And that's a correct assessment, is it not,
Exactly.
Jim Embry? Good.
Exactly.
Yeah, good to have you here. It's
Wonderful.
been a little bit.
It's a blessing to be here again, Renee.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
We love you. We love the KET family.
Yes.
As you know, around you, I always wear purple.
I know. I was
regal.
expecting it.
But also, when I'm talking about our ancestors, it's a blessing, it's an honor. So I want to dress in the purple, royal purple, to honor our ancestors.
And Isaac Murphy is one that is
Yes.
getting a lot of overdue praise.
Yes.
You know, Frank X. Walker has
Yes.
written extraordinary work about him.
Yes.
Pelham McDaniels,
Yes.
who this book, Prince of Jockeys, he wrote this kind of signature biography
Absolutely.
of him. This is almost the definitive work about Isaac Murphy.
It
and
is.
sadly, we lost him in 2020.
Yes, we did. And it broke our heart.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, Pelham was the inspiration for Phoenix Rising forming about 5 years ago. He was here speaking about his book. He spoke at UK, and then he spent about 3 or 4 years coming to Lexington for weeks at a time to do all kinds of things with Phoenix Rising, from lecture series at the Lyric, at the Murphy Art Garden, lectures at local schools. He had a beautiful display at Lyric coming from his book, and he was working on a film adaptation of this book. And again, this is a signature book on Isaac Murphy, and he's regarded in our terms as one of the very best of the bluegrass for all of his contributions to racing. He brought to racing what's called riding off the pace. This means rather than riding your horse fast from beginning to end, he would hold the horse in check maybe for the last quarter mile, last eighth mile, and say, now giddy up. And he won almost half of his races in that kind of a style. And jockeys now ride most of the time off the pace.
Right.
Thanks to Isaac Murphy.
Thanks to Isaac Murphy, who set the pace, right?
Yes, he
a true
did.
pace setter.
Yes, he did.
Do you think now that because of the elevation of Isaac Murphy that we're giving Black horsemen their due? And we've seen, I mean, we've got some rising stars with Greg Harbutt, with Ray McDaniels, and others who formed that group.
Absolutely.
You know, really getting. It's almost like a resurgence, a renaissance of the African American experience into the equine industry.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, back in 2006, when Brother Bruce Mundy and I were working with Leadership Lexington to create a project for Leadership Lexington, we were already naming art gardens for African Americans like Mary Britton on 7th Street. And then when we were asked to do another one, we found this piece of land on 3rd Street that we knew was near his home, okay? It was near the home of Isaac and Lucy Murphy. Might have been the same spot as it was. Anyway, so we thought, wow, what a great spot to have this art garden created, named for Isaac Murphy, but the word memorial also meant to recognize the other members of the community that helped make it possible for a jockey to be on a horse.
Right.
People like the grooms, the blacksmiths, the trainers, the women probably who sewed the silks, made the leather, the reins, the saddles, people who grow the hay. Those are all the folks that made it possible for Isaac to ride and be so successful. And he was born here. His dad fought in the Civil War, died in the Civil War, but he came to Lexington to live and make a life. And what a life he and Lucy had. So when we began thinking this year about having this jazz series, we called it From the Front Porch jazz series because their home was located this huge two-story mansion, okay, in the 1890s that overlooked the old racetrack. Well, they would have these parties that were written up in the Lexington Herald Leader, Lexington newspapers, parties, but always had music. So we're just channeling the spirit of Isaac and Lucy by having this jazz series.
And he was more than just a horseman and a famous jockey, that he was politically and socially conscious and loved art and culture.
Absolutely, he sure did. He was a member of the Masonic Order. He was always championing other black folk to be in the horse industry. He helped serve as a mentor for other jockeys. He helped pave the way for different trainers that were African American to get jobs at different horse farms. As you said, he was a socialite. And he was a person who recognized that one of the best ways that he could help create greater equity and justice was through being an outstanding jockey, but also giving back to the community. When he died at their home on 3rd Street, according to the newspaper, some 500 people were in the funeral procession that left their home and went through down 3rd Street and around downtown area and came back to the cemetery on 7th Street.
Wow.
So he was loved
Right.
by a lot of people nationally.
Right, right. He wasn't just a hero in the bluegrass area in central Kentucky, but throughout.
Exactly.
And the fact that we really didn't know who he was until the last part of, the last century, really.
Well, yeah. And some of us knew who he was, but when we formed the Art Garden, then we reached out to a variety of people. Leadership Lexington, back then, Jim Newberry was the mayor.
Yes.
We reached out to the horse park, where he was buried at, okay, and Commerce Lexington, variety of people we invited in to be a part of this art garden creation. And the legacy trail.
Yes,
when
absolutely.
Light Foundation left here, they wanted to leave some type of local contribution from their foundation. About 200 ideas were put forward, and with the idea of linking Murphy and Lucy's home, now the art garden, with where he was buried at the horse park, was the reason for the legacy trail.
Yes.
Okay? That was reason. And then also the horse park developed their own African American horseman exhibit as an inspiration from the art garden. You mentioned our dear friend who we love so very much, Frank Walker's book was written, and a play was written as an inspiration from the art garden. You mentioned again one of our dear beloved brothers, Greg Harbert, who formed the Ed Brown Society as a way to help channel more people who are African American into becoming owners and actually racing horses, inspiration from the art garden. And then with Pelham's book, then with the art garden and Pelham's book, then all kinds of people, which was rightfully so, began celebrating, recognizing Isaac Murphy, as well as other folks who were African American, who were jockeys, trainers, grooms, and so forth. We have a walking trail now through downtown Lexington that another dear friend, Rufus Friday, helped fund. Yvonne Giles, we can't,
oh my goodness,
forget
he was just
her work. Yvonne Giles, Ann Butler from KSU were so helpful.
Is deceased now.
Yes, exactly well. So yeah, there's been, and now, right now, this year, part of this recognition has inspired the likes of Maker's Mark Distillery, Keeneland Racetrack, Lexards, to have this collaborative effort for the next 3 years, where not just one bottle or two, but 3 bottles of Maker's Mark this year and the next 3 years, having artists paint an image of some kind of horse scene, and then those bottles, then the proceeds from those bottles, whatever it might mean, then will come back to the art garden and help us purchase art. And we're going to be purchasing some art from our dear beloved LaVon Williams. Will be the next piece going in there. And then we're also going to add, we think, some type of a water feature in the art garden. And also, we're looking at also some type of shaded covering that can provide both shade and also being out of the rain.
Right, sure. A little
And we're yet to design that kind of a covering. So again, so we're just thankful and feel blessed that after 15 years of trying to get Isaac's name out and get support and get help, that now we have, you know, these major corporations from Kentucky. Churchill Downs is also doing a whole variety of things. They now have a Churchill Downs in the museum, like the horse park, an African-American horseman exhibit.
And there's a jazz series that is coming up, and we'll let people go to your website about
absolutely.
that, and to keep in mind, because that's a free evening out.
We invite all the our KET friends and family. We love y'all, okay? But come out and support from the Front Porch Jazz Series, again, August 14th and August 28th at the Murphy Art Garden at 3rd and Midland.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Jim Embry,
for
all
Renee.
that you do, and for keeping all of us energized and culturally aware and engaged in our community. Really appreciate you.
Thank you. Love you so much.
Yes, same right back at you. Thank you for watching Connections Day. It's all about art and culture, and you can go back and watch other programs on Connections at ket.org/connections, and listen to podcasts too if you want to do that as well. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and I will see you next week.